Hey guys, welcome into the Bear With Us podcast. I'm Jack. That's Frank. That's Nas. The full crew. Nas decided to not be yellow belly, as they say, which definitely has some sort of racial undertones. I just learned that the peanut gallery apparently has racial origins, which blew my
Interesting.
mind. Yeah, great,
Wow.
crazy stuff. But anyways, Nas isn't scared to be here today to talk with Frank because that's been the battle. And I already lost my train of thought. We're talking receiver prospects on the Bear With Us podcast. The Bears have the number 9 overall pick, which has become such a fascinating story for me to kind of watch now that Justin Fields has officially been traded. Like, I feel like that conversation about even the first pick is just like, it's not as interesting anymore. It's Caleb. Let's talk about what they're going to do at number 9, which is way more interesting, which is just it's fascinating to me to have watched that in like less than a month's time. We're on to the number 9 pick, and it's all about what they're going to do there. Under the assumption, I guess it doesn't have to be, but let's assume here that the Bears stay at number 9 or they possibly trade back and pick up a second. I think we should talk through some of the wide receivers. We did the quarterbacks, give our top 5, maybe some other ones to keep a name on, for that third round, that fourth round, maybe even the second if they do trade back. So we're going to do a top 5 wide receivers for the prospects in this draft class. Who wants to kick us off? Who wants to do we want to do 1 through 5? Do we want to do 5 through 1? That's how we did quarterbacks. How are we thinking of doing this?
I feel like we can do sort of either or, because I think the 3 is the 3. I think we may order them a little bit different, but we know what the top 3 is, because I don't really think there's anything to dispute there. Do we just talk through that first and then go like give each other 4 and 5 and sort of, draft profile
I'm perfectly
it?
fine doing that. That's how we did it with Caleb. So
Yep.
more than fine. All right. So obviously the 3 that Frank is alluding to: Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. Frank, you just alluded to the fact that we may have them in different order. Does anyone have a different number 1 than Marv Jr.?
I got Neighbors one.
Oh, I've seen that. It's coming up a lot more lately with Neighbors being number 1. And 2 months ago, I would have hated it. The more I've watched Neighbors, dude, he's fucking good.
He's pretty legit, and I'm gonna be honest. I am holding some stuff against Marv, like in terms of how he's gone about the draft process. I just want the best guy to go be the best, to go show he's the best guy, and he's like, I bet his teammates will vouch that he's a great competitor, but I just like the look was a little sus to me. And just the more you watch Neighbors, the more like you just think, oh, this guy, like his ceiling is so fucking high. I actually think when you look at both of their tapes, his ceiling is higher. The floor is probably higher for Marv, but in terms of a pure explosion, if you took Neighbors, I would be thrilled for you.
I don't hate it. The more that I've done the scouting, and it really started, it wasn't even this podcast, it was for dynasty reasons, so I get an understanding of who the prospects were, who I was drafting in dynasty leagues. I have taken the opposite approach of like, I don't care about the combine, I don't care about what the numbers say, but Nas, there is something to that. It reminds me a lot, I don't know if you guys pay attention to too much hip hop stuff, but just what J. Cole just pulled with that, apologizing and taking things back. And it's like, this is even more so. We're talking about a real sport here. This is more so a competitive thing, right? Like we know rap is as well, but like Marvin Harrison not doing a lot of that is, I want, just like you said there, I know people have downplayed it over the years, that killer instinct or sort of that killer, but that is a thing. There's something about that being a thing, and for Marv to not be out there, I get why you would knock him for that, but goddamn, does his tape, like I guess going to my philosophy, does his tape just speak for itself? Malik Neighbors as well. I think the only thing that separates it from me, honestly, it's not much, is you get a few more inches with Marv. I know they're around the same weight, but I think his frame he has a little bit more frame to add on even more, Marv does, where I think Malik is going to be around 6 feet 210 for the bulk of his career.
He's a big boy.
I think we need to be talking about reasons that Neighbors should drop to 9 so that we can get the steal of the draft, and maybe stop talking about how he's the best receiver. No, I do think it's a little more I think it's closer than people like to assume. It's just been this weird thing with Marv where it's like, oh, well, he's clearly the number one. Let's not even talk about it. Whereas, like, I do think there is an argument to be had. Frank, you kind of hit on why I still have Marv over Malik Neighbors just from a player perspective, just that size. I think Malik Neighbors tends to be a little bit more average size. But obviously the explosiveness, the special skill, it's there for both. It's sort of just, what do you like better? And there might be a team, maybe the Cardinals say, we do want someone who is a competitor. We kind of know what we have in Kyler. Let's see what we have in a guy whose main focus is football and who wants to prove he's the best. Maybe there's something to that. But I wouldn't be shocked, I guess I should say, if Neighbors is the first wide receiver off the board. I still think it will more than likely be Marv Jr. But this is one of the very rare times where I will not yell at Nas for having a different opinion than my own.
I appreciate that, Jack.
Does it not also help that Marvin Harrison is his dad? Like, because if you have any sort of worries, Marv Sr. is going to be on the phone and say, listen, this is my boy. This is my son. This is why we did that. You have a different level of access, I guess is what I'm saying, if you have a worry, if you're a GM. That if you have a worry with Neighbors, you're going to call his coach or whatever. Someone's going to,
sure,
vouch. But it's different when your dad's Marv Sr.
At a car wash, that story, the restaurant, he killed somebody there. Like, that's enough. All right. Yeah. He's a Colts legend. Fucking knock it off. The one thing I will say, I'm curious if either of you maybe hold it against him, talking maybe a negative about Neighbors, maybe not even a negative, but just something to keep in mind. Do either of you take into consideration who was his quarterback at LSU, who he was playing alongside in a potential first round wide receiver with Brian Thomas Jr.? Obviously, Jaden Daniels is being talked about as a top 3 pick at the very least, maybe even top 2. Some people saying they like him better than Caleb, which I definitely do not. I know Frank does not. Nas, I'm not sure. We didn't get your response. I'm assuming no, but we didn't officially get that.
Caleb's the clear one in my mind.
Okay.
But I do think there's something to be said about Jaden being better than Drake May.
Yeah. I'm not. I think we
honestly,
talked about that
it literally doesn't matter to me at all because I'm not getting either of those guys because we're fucking taking Caleb. So, don't care.
All right. now, from the wide receiver perspective, do either of you take that into consideration about, did that help? Obviously, it helped Malik Neighbors look better, having a better quarterback, having a great quarterback. Do either of you think that there's something that won't translate to the NFL based off of who his quarterback could potentially be based off where he gets drafted to?
Frank, I'll go first. I hold nothing against Neighbors. I'm taking 0 into consideration. He's already a pretty elite route runner. He has explosion. And if you just watch any of it, it's evident there whether the quarterback's putting the ball in the right spots or not. That guy's getting open. So for me personally, no, I'm not. I'm not really holding it against him or thinking it's an advantage versus another player.
I share the exact same sentiments. And as a matter of fact, in scouting the quarterbacks, I took away a little bit from Jaden Daniels because I think that whole offense was working around some of his limitations as well and what he did with his legs. So for Neighbors to do what he did, I thought it was a plus for him and a minus for Jaden Daniels. So yeah, I totally agree with Nas. He gave me Jamar Chase vibes, man. Just similar size, good yak, explosion, and just the biggest point that Nas made was not only did he get open, but for being only 6 feet, his 50-50 jump ball talent, at least at the college level, was very good for that size. So
he's a dog.
That's what I mean. It's even because you're expecting to get someone who can throw the ball. I mean, there's guys who, if we would have made a whole top 10, well, if we would have shared our top 10, there's guys who are like, well, his quarterback wasn't all that great. Like, you're expecting to get at least a baseline level of what you got in college if you're Malik Neighbors. So I don't hold it against him at all.
I saw a little Stephon Diggs to Malik Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Just in
I don't
terms
hate
of
that.
height and size.
Yeah. I mean, Diggs, I think people kind of forget how explosive young Diggs was. Like, dude would just, like, take a stop and then one move and then he was gone. Like,
the acceleration from stop to start was elite level stuff.
It's funny because acceleration and such and yards after catch and things I think are starting to catch my eye even more. But have you all noticed the shift in the NFL? Like, none of these guys are coming out with like Antonio Brown footwork. Like the footwork, like the releases are still being worked on very much so, but like out of breaks for routes, I don't think is emphasized as much anymore. I think I don't know if it's just like a West Coast style, professional style offense type of thing, but a lot of defenses run zone now. So it's more about like being able to find the zone and like having a good break and good release versus like Chad Ochocinco, Antonio Brown, where it's like, that's what stood out. Like none of these guys, I don't think it's bad. I don't think the footwork is bad, but I would never call it elite like those dudes that I just mentioned.
I think you're probably noticing it more now because young receivers are able, like the transition time from being good and great in college to being great in the NFL is not super high. Like they're being kind of thrown in right away. Whereas maybe they had a little more time to develop some of those routes, some of the footwork stuff, where now it's kind of just like what they do in college, they do in the NFL.
Yep.
Because
I mean, that's what happened with Puka. Like Puka came out as not an elite route runner, and Sean McVay understood that was not a strength and used the scheme another way to get him open and take advantage of the skills that he did have. So,
yeah, it's now. So, okay. All right. So we talked through the top two. We're supposed to be talking through the top three. Did either of you have Rome as your number two, as your number one? Just three. Boom, boom, boom.
He's my three.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's my three. And speaking of the ninth pick, I told Nas this quickly offline. I like Rome a lot. I do. But Marv and Malik both separated themselves for me as 1 and 2. And again, I'm completely okay with anyone who has Malik at number 1. Rome, I think he's an X. I think he's very good. He reminded me a lot of Anquan Bolden, just even like size-wise. I think the only weakness or sort of red flag was he relied on his size a little bit too much, where I thought he could have got separation on different routes, and it could have, I don't know what their scheme is or whatever, just what I saw on film, but I think those two have separated themselves enough. And when I think of the rest of my 5 and even like into 10, guys I don't think are super far away. Like he hasn't separated himself from 4 to 5 like 1 and 2 have from him, if that makes sense. So if he's there at number 9, would I be happy if we took him? By all means, I think he's a good receiver. I wouldn't be complaining about it. I would like to trade out of that because I think he's a guy that people would like to trade up for, and then we recoup maybe a 2 or a couple 3s. I don't know what you would get, depending on what the trade is in this year's draft. He's not a guy that if we missed out on, I would be pissed. Now, if Neighbors is there and we pass, I would be very angry. Or if fucking Marv somehow makes it. But Rome is a dude that I don't look at as much different as other dudes, probably from like 4 to 7.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's other dudes later in the draft that have kind of a similar skill set, and like that I could see passing him up once they get to the league. So, totally. Frank, that never crossed my mind. I actually love that idea. If Rome were to fall to us, we instead of doing it, just trade out of it and look to see what you can get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I probably like Rome a little more than you two, and that's totally fair.
Him.
I think
yeah. I think
so, and I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying if he were there at 9, I would still very much want the Bears to draft him. Like, just fucking do it. Let's not overthink it. Because I do think. If I were like to tier it, right? I number 1, 2. Superstar, like if they don't become superstars, something must have gotten fucked up, like just completely. Whereas like I think Rome is like not that far off of that, I do think there is a slight tier break, but then I think from 4 to 5, it's like the difference between Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to me. Like, if that makes sense. Like, because 4, I have Brian Thomas Jr. I'll just get it out of the way. I think the perfect comp for him is T. Higgins. So I think the difference between Rome as like maybe even like a Larry Fitzgerald type wide receiver, like I think that is the difference between that and T. Higgins. And if it's between those two, because of the age of Keenan Allen, I would much rather have potentially Larry Fitzgerald than I would T. Higgins. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does. That's interesting because I didn't have Brian Thomas in my 5. He would have been, if I just listed the 5, he would have probably been like 7 for me, I think. Do we delve into?
I'm a basic bitch. I'm a basic bitch.
I don't hate it, dude. Honestly, I love this because this just shows how fucking stacked this receiver room is. Because I don't have any pushback to Brian Thomas being in a top 5. He could very well be. I just thought like, well, let's not get into him. The only other point that I want to make about the number 9 pick is the only 2 that I think have the potential to be there that I would not trade out of that spot for would be Joe Alt and Malik Neighbors. If they're both there, I'm taking them. I'm running to the podium, screaming their name as loud as I can. Everyone else, I'm very open to trading back and recouping a second round pick. Nas, did you want to, or do we have anything else to say about the top 3 before we delve into 4 and 5?
I did not. I do want to preface one thing just about the number 9 pick. I wonder what the realistic possibility of trading back. I just want to set expectations that maybe there aren't going to be that great of offers to trade back from number 9, depending on who is available. Granted, it will depend on what teams need, what quarterbacks are available for teams like Minnesota, Denver, depending on what they decide to do. But, depending on what's left at 9, there might not be as many opportunities because I do think that there is a very clear break in terms of prospects for the tier lists. And not necessarily wide receiver, just like, even pass rusher, like Dallas Turner at this time was talked about as like or last year, he would have been like a top 5 pick at this time. But now it's kind of like people are kind of cooling off on him. And maybe that's just part of the draft season. As we get closer, maybe prospects will start to rise. But I don't think it's a necessary guarantee that there will be like this incredible offer to trade back from 9, depending on what's available still.
That's fair. No, that's and again, that's why it's nice to have these sort of weapons out there, because if Rome is the pick, I'm not going to be mad at it at all. Right. I just think my trade back scenario more so is in favor of him being that good. He's a guy that I do think someone would trade a decent amount to move up from like 15 or 20 and nab him up.
You'd rather have the extra picks
exactly
than
because I think the talent in the rest of the 10 or whoever else would be available at 20 or even in the second round isn't super far off from him. It's not a knock on him. It's just showing how strong this wide receiver class is in general.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk roster building perspective, if Rome gets there, if Rome's the guy that falls to 9, I think that's when we get the most value out of trading out of 9. If he doesn't make it there, I wouldn't expect a huge return if we decide to trade out of that spot. I think we only get something really substantial if he falls to that spot. And again, like both of you, if we took Rome, I'm right there. I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yeah. Who? So, okay. I gave my number 4. I really like Brian Thomas Jr. The size that he has, I think, is phenomenal. He's just a good outside receiver, which is what I think the Bears desperately need. And I'd be fine if they traded back to 20. Like, agreed. If Rome, if they do decide to trade back, I'd be fine with Brian Thomas Jr. Who are your 4s? If obviously, Frank, you have a much different top 5 with him being potentially like number 7. I'm curious who you both have at number 4.
Nas, you want to go first?
I got BTJ, Jack.
Oh, look at that. Look at us.
We're incognito right now.
Nothing to yell about now.
We're simpatico right now, baby.
Nas, anything you want to highlight before I give my 4?
Well, okay. So speaking to what Jack said, I do feel it's a perfect fit in terms of need at the receiver position. The guy can track a deep ball. He's got elite speed, elite size. And Frank, you and I talked offline about this, about like the route running is a little bit of an issue. Who better to learn from than Keenan Allen and DJ Moore? I just feel like it's like literally a perfect setup to get the most out of him, which specifically for the Bears, I have him ranked 4th.
I don't hate it. You know what? It's funny. My list may have been a little bit different had I been ranking what the Bears' needs were. I was just ranking wide receiver prospects in general that I thought were the best receivers.
Way to do this, Frank. Do it how you feel you want.
No, absolutely. No, it's interesting. I just never even thought to like filter my brain that way. Like who would be a better fit for the Bears? 4 for me was Adonai Mitchell. That this kid, the biggest red flag that I saw is there's times where he's not as aggressive, and I don't know if it's like a lack of focus thing. I don't know if it's a I know the ball isn't coming my way type of thing, and it comes off as a little diva-ish. But again, I think we've talked in the past. I'm ready for fucking diva. I accept the diva. I don't hate diva, especially at receiver. How many nice guys have we had in this building that just don't fucking pan out? Let's try something different. It's the rumors. Ryan Poles never confirmed it, but the rumors were that he didn't really like George Pickens because of some of the off the field, little bit of attitude issues, whatever. But that's who Adonai reminded me of. Just George Pickens, and here's another bit of a red flag. It was the same one that I had for Pickens. Sometimes he relied on that contortionism type of thing instead of just like running under the ball, but he has the skill set to do it. You think of like 50-50 balls, his ability to separate. He had an ability, honestly, that I think the reason why I had Rome above him, but not far above him, was because he was a little more consistent with route running. He was a little more consistent with even his hands. But the flash plays, the things that jump out at you, Mitchell had him beat for me. Like it's just like this ability that if you didn't like know football, like if you didn't watch very much and you put on both of their plays, you could see like a casual thinking that Adonai was better because just like what pops out of the screen at you. Now, at the next level, I think he's going to need to be a little more consistent. Quarterback play wasn't the greatest for him, obviously, but if he puts it together, this may be like the hottest take of them all. If he puts it all together, his ceiling could be higher than Rome's and Malik's. Like I think that highly of him. Like if we're in a coma, and then we wake up in 3 years and Mitchell is the guy that's seen as the best receiver from this draft class, it wouldn't fucking shock me. It really wouldn't. Like I think he has a lot of tools. Some need to be more refined than the 3 above him, but my God, is he physically talented. I liked his tape. His tape was some of the funnest that I watched because going into it, you sort of knew who the big 3 were. Those were the guys sort of let's flesh who the order of them. But when I started playing other tape and he was one of the first that I saw after them, my God, he has a lot that stands out. He was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think to Naz's point a little bit earlier, if your concern is someone who maybe won't work or needs to work as hard to hit his ceiling, what better room to be in than guys like DJ Moore, with Keenan Allen, like Cole Kmet even. That would be, I think, if he were to succeed with trying his hardest on every single play or finding ways to be productive without getting the football, that would be probably the best room for him to develop in. But with that being said, I do think the personality stuff will probably hold Ryan Poles back from drafting, just from a Bears perspective. I'm not saying, that's why he wouldn't be my number 4, Frank. But from a Bears perspective specifically, I could see that being why Ryan Poles might be a little more like, I don't know. Yeah. Let's find something else.
I'm also curious though, because if they draft a guy like him, he's not the greatest run blocker. And a lot of these guys aren't, even like effort wise in the run block game. I'm curious to see if, they put a premium on it in the last couple of years. And I don't know if that was a Getsy thing that.
Yes.
But the thing is, how much did Getsy have say in actual, I know his scheme was meant for that, but how much actually drafting guys did he have an influence?
I would say a lot. I would probably say a lot, because there wasn't really anyone else to run that offense. He was kind of the the guy in charge.
Yeah.
Because I think Eberflus was more focused on getting the culture right, getting the defense right, and he basically was like, "All right, Getsy, I trust you. I hired you. Fucking don't let me down." And he did, and he got fired.
Well, I think all that to say is I think we'll know what this scheme is really going to be looking for based on the receivers that they draft, based on the weapons that they draft. Yes. Because if they continue to put a premium on run blocking guys, you're probably not looking receiver early, and they're going like Dallas Turner. In the first, and you're talking about getting mid-level, third round, fourth round dudes at receiver, because that's where you're going to find more of that, more of the intangible guy, more of the things don't necessarily jump out at you type of prospect, which I wouldn't be excited for, but I think it will be telling.
Yeah. Naz, anything we wanted to add?
You guys have said it all. I like where this is going. Let's move on to 5.
Let's move on to 5.
We need to fucking shake some things up.
Let's argue.
Who can I say that would get you guys so? I honestly, I think this is the one draft where you could probably say like 15 different names for number 5, and you'd be like, okay, yeah, I could kind of see it. I could, like you could say Xavier Worthy, and you'd probably be like, I don't know, but I mean that elite speed. He's not my number 5. I'm struggling with my number 5. I was hoping one of you guys would like say a name and like convince me to like choose my number 5, because I have a few that I really like. I'm leaning Keon Coleman just because of that. I mean, you're talking physical wide receiver. That's what you want. Like that, he is that dude. Like, and again, he could either be like one of the premier big body guys, or he could be like Drake London. No offense, Drake London, but your career's been enough to
Hey.
I still like Drake. I still like Drake. What are we doing here?
I still like that guy. All right.
He was my number 2. He was my number 2, I think, coming out. But no, I think like from a production perspective, I really like Keon Coleman. I really like Tez Walker from North Carolina. I'm higher, I think, on him than a lot of people are. When he showed up to North Carolina, I mean, they started putting up big numbers, and the problems I saw with Drake May, some of those throws he was having behind guys, late misplaced balls. Tez Walker was the one making the big plays, coming up with a lot of those. So I'll go Keon Coleman, but I don't feel super confident that one of you couldn't shake my confidence and make me pick someone else for number 5.
I mean, all right. I was going to say Keon Coleman, but I've changed my mind. All right. I don't want to go chalk with your ass.
God damn, we would have had the fucking same top 5. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
I like Leggett, dude. This guy is like, if DK and Debo had a fucking baby, it's this guy. And you want to talk about someone who suffered from quarterback play? It is this dude. Yeah. This guy would make Caleb's life so fucking easy for the next 5 years. Like, because like, whether we like it or not, I think Keenan's only here for a year. I think he would have to do so much to get an extension out of the Bears. And just like this guy, though he's not, the one thing he's not elite at, and in my opinion, not really even close yet, is as a route runner. He's not there yet. But everything else, when the ball's in this dude's hands, it just screams playmaker. And I trust him in jump ball situations. I trust him with a little head start, like maybe put him in the backfield and do something crazy with it. Like the versatility of the guy is there. And if we traded back and took him, I would be ecstatic.
I like both of those guys. Neither of them were my 5 though, which again speaks to how deep I think this class is. Keon Coleman, I knocked him because I think his floor has the potential to be very low. I have it in my notes. I'm looking at him. He could be, to me, like the next Mike Evans, or he can be the next Devin Funchess. Like there was so much inconsistency in his game, but his ceiling, I think, is high. His ceiling is up there. Like it's very high. He's obviously a little bit slower, but I do like him in the 50-50 game. His yak, at least from the tape that I've seen, I wasn't in love with it to a point where I ranked Leggett higher, because it's funny that, well, who did you say? Debo and DK. And DK. So in my notes, I said which I think is like, this may be the baby of what you said. I said Alshon Jeffrey with better yak and better speed, because the size is there, that jump ball ability is there, but he does have better straight line speed than Alshon did. Alshon was never a shifty guy, but to me, that being Leggett's floor, even if the speed doesn't necessarily translate, like we see what he does, you know, in 50-50 situations, and that size he has, like he uses it to box guys out. Like that's what Jeffrey did. Like he reminded me so much of him.
Dude, yeah. Wow. Good comp. He high points the ball really impressively.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like
he have the hamstring injuries, the tissues, the soft tissue.
I would hope not. Up? I would hope not.
That voice? The voice didn't knock him down at all a little bit for you, Nas? The voice.
Nah, dog.
Cartoon voice.
His it was very funny.
I want him mic'd up. I want him mic'd up on the first game.
And again, if I filtered this on what the Bears want, he would probably be my 5, because I agree that's a perfect compliment to what they have going on now. But just prospect wise, my 5 was Xavier Worthy. I know he's small.
Whoa, buddy.
I know he's small. I thought he was the most versatile of the dudes from 4 to 10. Because he can play inside, he can play outside. His tape reminded me a lot of Jameson Williams. I know Jameson, you know, has had his issues betting and injury-wise. A lot of Tank Dell in there. I talked earlier about route running. I'm not going to bullshit you, fellas. I think he's in my 10 that I have ranked. I think he's the best route runner of them all. His release, his breaks, his shiftiness, his quickness was insane to me, to a point where I think it's because he's that small that he had to play that way his whole life. He's not high pointing balls. He's not, you know, doing things that Marv or Malik could do just because he's shorter and smaller. But I also, I know it sounds weird because of his size, but I think he has a very high floor just because of where the NFL is trending with gadget players. I think he's good with the ball in his hands. He could be a guy that I can see getting snaps out of the backfield that I don't think anyone else on this list has the ability to do. I think he's a dude that can go outside, inside.
Can
I like him a lot.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you by any chance see his NFL.com draft profile player comp, and that's why you picked him?
I didn't. I actually didn't see Darnell. I didn't see Darnell Mooney in him at all, to be honest with you. I thought that was a weird comp.
You saw Darnell Mooney leave in free agency, and you thought to yourself, my God, how could the Bears possibly win the Super Bowl now without Darnell Mooney? And you found his replacement in Xavier Worthy. Having him over Troy Franklin is a surprise for me, because if you want speed, I would personally go with Troy Franklin. I think I don't hate, like he was the name I brought up originally. I don't hate having Worthy as your 5. I just think I would personally go with Troy Franklin before I would go with Xavier Worthy.
Well, I think to me, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for just a straight line guy, I agree. I think Troy Franklin is your dude. But
you were probably a big John Ross fan back in the day.
I didn't really scout then. I didn't really scout. See, but here's where I think you guys are wrong. I think you're not looking at Xavier Worthy in the same way that I am. I think
I'm not worthy to look at Worthy.
You're not worthy to look at Worthy because his route running, his ability with the ball in his hands. Again, I know he's small, but he's not exactly short. He's 5'10", 5'11". It's not like he's, you know, Tariq Cohen's height.
That's not huge. That's probably.
It's not huge.
Like, Bryce
it's
Young
not huge.
Was 5'11". All right, that's what you said last year, Frankie.
Oh wait, who was 5'11"?
You said Bryce Young was 5'11" last year.
No, he's not. He's my height. He's 5'8". I know 5'8" when I see it.
So that's probably how tall Xavier Worthy.
No. Xavier Worthy measured with the shoes off. Antonio Brown was 5'11", 6 feet. It's his frame that you're worried about. It's because he's 165.
I mean, he's 160 pounds.
I know.
Shit.
I know.
Like this dude could. It's one hit.
Well, but only if he gets hit, though.
Like, remember Johnny Knox? Yeah, that was nice. And then he got hit.
Managing a Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that.
Listen, I can't push back on the size thing. I'm just saying his tape stood out to me in a manner that these other guys did not from 5 to 10.
I think if he's hanging like late second, I'm willing to take the risk. I can't take the risk in the first.
So can we discuss that then? Because how many first round guys do you have? I think he's a second round pick.
I have like
early second.
6. I have like 6 or 7.
Wow, I don't have that many.
Not not that I think will go first round, just to clarify, but I think could. I would take in the late 20s because the top three, obviously, well, not obviously, I shouldn't even say obviously, but there should be three that go in the top 10 at least, right?
Yep.
Two will probably go, at least two will go in the teens, right? And then I think two more could go towards the back end of the first round with teams that need the Bills, who just lost their best wide receiver and their second best wide receiver in this offseason. The Chiefs, who just lost their supposedly best wide receiver due to some shenaniganry, some legal stuff. Like, there are teams that will draft wide receivers throughout. I think it could be 6 or 7.
No. I don't disagree. I'm talking about just the way that I graded them. I had 4 with the first, Xavier Worthy being early second. I can see 8 receivers going in the first, based on need.
I like too many of these guys. I think I like them at the back end of the first round. Maybe not necessarily. I could see them early seconds, but I like a lot of these guys. I think this is the draft to have a wide receiver need. And if they don't take any of these fucking guys and they take more fucking safeties and corners, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
I think we're taking one of these guys. There's so many. I think we're taking one, right? Like,
I agree.
We should take 5.
And I mean, the thing is you guys already touched on it, specifically talking about, was it Brian Thomas? It doesn't matter who it is. This is the best room to come in if you're a receiver, because you're going to get reps right away because we need it, but you're not going to be relied upon. Like Marv going to Arizona, he's wide receiver 1 right away. You better fucking produce. That's pressure. And we've already seen, again, I'm not trying to knock, but Nas brings up good points. What is the reason for you to not play? Could there be a legit reason? Sure. Or not play, but like combine and everything, pro days. Could there be a legit reason? Yeah. But
it's a little weird, dude. Like,
it's a little weird. I agree.
With the combine last year, it's a top 2 pick. Like, he just wanted to fucking compete. Like, and like, I'm not even saying Marv had to do that. He didn't do anything.
He literally did nothing.
And it's like, specifically speaking on him, the one thing that you can't really quantify it. It's you see it through interviews, you see it in these sorts, the whole process like this. I kind of like my first round prospects being psychopaths. And I'm seeing that even in Caleb. Like, some of his answers to these interview questions, I'm like, oh, this is some like fucking MJ shit that he's told. Like, you just like, because like they asked him, the question that they asked him, not to make this all about Caleb, but I'm, obviously he's almost here, but they asked him like, how did you feel about being benched? And his demeanor change and like long stare of like, I have bodies in my basement. I was like, oh, this is our fucking guy. I love it. But it's like, I guess I say all that to say, with Marv, you didn't get anything like that. You didn't get the competition aspect. You didn't get these interviews that are very bland. They're very media trained.
He learned from his dad. His dad
was very soft. His dad was very soft spoken.
Keep it off the field. Find a nice restaurant
or car wash.
And do it there. Don't keep your business to yourself.
I mean, you might be right.
All right. Supposedly.
Allegedly.
Asterisk. If he hears this, Marvin Harris, I love you. I'm your biggest fan. Number 88, blue and white, forever.
Underrated.
Please don't.
Agreed.
Please don't take me to
Agreed. Nas, did you? I guess to answer the question, how many firsts? I mean, you could take it either way. Did you grade, or do you think could go in the first?
I think will go in the first? I think that there are as much as 8 that could go in the first.
Same.
I would say there's actually 6-ish that I think. Okay.
What the fuck is going on here? Me and Nas just in sync.
This was unexpected, and I'm kind of annoyed.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm the one. I mean,
Should we talk about Bill Belichick? Should we talk about Bill Belichick? Should we bring?
No, we can't. We can't.
No. But I think this is a great position for the Bears to be in. I think. Listen, I heard it said today earlier, and I completely fucking agree. I do not want to go defense with this pick. I just don't. I don't want a pass rusher. I don't want a corner. I don't want a safety. Fucking Matt Eberflus has enough fucking invested in this defense already to the point where they should be top 5 regardless of what they do with this pick. I don't want to go defense. This is you've done so much good on the offensive line. You brought in Keenan Allen. Keep building this offense. Get something people are excited about. Bring in Caleb. Give him as many fucking weapons as you possibly can, as long as it's not Brock Bowers. And then just keep building this fucking thing. And just I wouldn't get the logic of not because Nas, you're right. I agree with you. I don't think Keenan is going to be a Bear for more than one season. With that being said, I want DJ to be paired with another. I want the Bengals offense for years and years and years. That's what I want. And you could get that with DJ Moore and a guy who's probably better than T. Higgins, or who will be better than T. Higgins in one of these top 3 prospects if they're available. Now, if you have to trade back, you have to trade back if one of these guys aren't there. But if they take fucking defense again over one of these wide receivers, Frankie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Woo.
Again, we've talked about this. I don't care, because I agree with you that they should be at floor is top 10, potential to like top 5. It's dependent, but in situational. I'm just ready to load up on offense. We've only done it one time in our lifetime, and that was with a fucking head coach who couldn't handle personalities in his locker room, and everything imploded. Like, that was the only time in our life that we had weapons at every single level. You had Forte and Jeffrey and Marshall and Bennett. Even I forgot who the backup tight end at that point was, but like he was good. Like, we had fucking dogs. I'm ready for that again. I'm ready for that to be the standard. And year in and year out, you're where, anywhere from 10 to 15. If you're middle of the pack defense and the offense wins you games, that's where I want to be. I just want my defense to be situationally good. That's all we need. In today's NFL, that's all you need, because that's what transfers from year to year. Elite doesn't transfer. Even if we're top 5 next year, we will not be the year after that. It just is what it is. Defense, this is not the era for that. So just keep it going. But it's very funny. I did not have this plan. I wanted to see, I just went to a mock draft, first one that came up, because we were talking about trading, and because it came to mind that the Bills, who need a receiver, they may be the ones to trade up, and we'd be trading back then to 28. And in this, I don't know what we'd get. Oh, we probably might get a 25 first. That's a big trade down.
That is huge.
But they have the Bears taking Xavier Worthy at 28. That's phenomenal. But because that was going to be my last question to you fellas, is how far back are you willing to trade down from 9? Let's say Rome is there, and he's the guy that people or Joe Alt. Is any number on the board for you as long as it's still in the first?
Yes.
Same.
Easy answer.
Because,
Fuck, man.
dude, because this is the thing. This never even crossed my mind that the Bills may be the team to trade up. But Ryan Poles talked about this when he traded the number 1 pick last year, of saying, like, I wanted to go further back because that meant I was going to get more. And we were comfortable with Justin to develop, to give him another year to develop, to see where the chips may fall. But in this case, dude, imagine they get a 25 first and maybe a 25 second along with this swap. We have so much 25 draft capital. Maybe Justin Jefferson's feeling disgruntled. Maybe another receiver or maybe another weapon somewhere is feeling disgruntled. You have these picks to play with that sets you up. The more I'm thinking about it, I'm leaning for a trade down. Again, the only two, I would even do it for Alt. I think I'm comfortable with Braxton Jones.
Yeah. The more we're talking about it, the more I do kind of want to trade back. The more we're talking, like,
both make me fucking sick to my stomach, and you should both be ashamed of yourselves.
well, I'm okay with trading back under the notion that we are taking a receiver in the first round regardless.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So-
I still want a receiver
So-
first or
But
second.
it just
can't
feels
wait. I
like
can't wait.
with the depth, it feels like the move. Now,
I
if we
can't
take
wait until
Alt and
these
bump
fuckers-
Braxton in, I mean, still let's go. Like, I feel so good about our team right now.
I do too.
There's a lot of moves
Because they
that
get
could
Caleb
happen.
at 1.
The really,
Because they're getting
honestly,
Caleb at 1.
the Dallas Turner Jared Verse pick is the only thing that would kind of fucking piss me off. Everything else, I'm on the table. I'm like right there if it's on the table, and I could convince myself of it. That it's
So
good.
when they trade back to 15 with the Colts and they draft Brock Bowers, I hope you two are
oh my
fucking holding your
God.
heads
He's
up
the only
high
guy I don't
and
want.
being like, oh, thank God you traded back. You fuck.
Dude, I have to see what people see in this kid. He doesn't even. I don't think he's a first rounder.
What does he do well? What does he do well?
He's a
He
white
pulls
tight
the
end.
Colt Komet. He runs open because no one's actually guarding him or doubling him, and then he runs with the ball. I don't understand. There's
Yeah, I don't
nothing
see
on
that.
tape
So-
that shows me that this guy's an elite tight end.
So we will. The only thing that kills our high right now is because we would be all fine with Joe Alt, correct? At 9, if he's there, we take him.
Yeah.
Braxton inside.
No.
We agree. You said no, Jack.
I said no.
You don't want Joe Alt at 9?
If he's there, someone will trade up for him.
Oh no. I want to trade down too. I'm just saying, let's live in the world where we have Joe Alt. We're okay with that pick, correct? Just talent wise.
No.
You don't want him at all?
No.
Wow.
Wait, I don't care about offensive line. I want a fucking wide receiver.
I
don't
get
care.
it. I get it. Okay.
It's enough. It's enough offensive line. I'm sick of it. Bad enough. Braxton Jones is fine. What more do you need? You see fucking San Francisco out there with Trent Williams. How many Super Bowls have they won? Nothing. They've
made it.
They've only been to 2 in the last 4 years. No,
yeah.
And they never won shit. Fuck them.
So
here we go.
Jack would be pissed about Joe Alt, but Dallas Turner.
I would be pissed. I would just be disappointed. How about that?
That would make me happy. If Jack was pissed, I would actually be thrilled.
I'm right there with you. Brock Bowers would piss all of us off. We know that.
Yeah.
So let me paint you a scenario. I need you all to tell me which scenario pisses you off even more. Brock Bowers at 9 takes the cake. I'm talking about trade back here. Trade back to 15, 18 or whatever. And then it's, we know how we feel about Brock Bowers. And you just hear
one of those corners. Jared Verse. Like any of these guys.
No. I'm painting you a specific picture here, Jackie.
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking.
No.
Okay.
At the 18th pick, Chicago Bears select Cooper DeJean, cornerback.
Now, I would like that pick only for the story of having the first white cornerback in the history of the NFL.
Jack just went on a soliloquy on not wanting the best left tackle in the draft, and then therein kicking Braxton Jones to left guard to solidify what you have at offensive line, but would be ecstatic over a white corner. That is absurd.
Wait, they're not drafting the corner.
This upcoming year is Braxton's 3rd year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's his contract situation?
2 more seasons.
One more. No, it's
one more because it doesn't have a 5th year.
It's one more, right?
It's one more.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, I don't know, getting Joe and then having to only pay Braxton at guard.
I know that's the thing.
From a team building perspective, you've elongated the huge contract you'd have to give your left tackle. You bump a guy inside, you actually have to pay him less.
Yep. The chance that you are
that's nice.
The chance
in all seriousness, if they do take Alt, I will not be pissed. But here's the caveat. It has to be a trade down. They can't take Joe Alt at 9 because they don't have a 2nd round pick to then get one of these better receivers that I feel are very, very good. Like the guy you could get in the 3rd round is such a big difference from the guy you could get in the 2nd or late
Agreed.
1st. To me, that's when I would be like, fuck, like now, not to say they couldn't get a good, because I still think there will be good prospects in the 3rd round, but then I would rather go get a center, like a 3rd round rookie center, than I would a 3rd round rookie wide receiver. Because at that point, then you have Tyler Scott, and it's just like, all right, dude, should we just let's see what we have in him? And I just don't like that. I don't like going left tackle at 9. I get that from a team building perspective, but if they are at 9 and they have an opportunity to trade back, I would rather do that and then get all to whatever. If it's at 10 or 11 or 12, 13, whatever it is.
I get it. I think the only other chance you'd be taking, just to respond to you really quick, Nas, is you would then be opening the door for Braxton Jones to leave, because it would be attractive for a team to want to pay him, to play him at left tackle, but say you've got a year of guard under you, so we're not giving you that premier money. It's somewhere in between, and we're going to let you play left tackle again. But you have to take chances in this line of business anyway. But that's certainly still the worry that you would have, because even elite guard money, he's not going to get what average left tackle money is going to be out on the open market. But yeah, listen, give me Alt, give me Rome at 9. I'm okay with either, but I'm heavily leaning trade back at this point, boys.
Yeah.
Makes me sick to my stomach. Cowards.
2 weeks to the day, guys. 2 weeks to the day.
So I guess we have to talk offline about it, but I know the week of, I don't want to have an actual, I just want to do a immediate reaction to both of the draft picks and what we do. Next week, do we even do, I don't know, if we maybe do a mock draft? I could share screen Yahoo or some shit. I don't know. We can talk about it.
We'll do a split 32. What's 32 divided by 3? 11 point something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm bad at math. I'm not going to lie.
10 point
I'm
something.
terrible at math. No, I think we're in a very good place. The Bears are in a great place because, again, does it really fucking matter which receiver they get if they're drafting Caleb Williams at number 1? Probably not, because he'll make anybody that much better, and it's going to be great. and we're gonna win the Super Bowl next year. And I'm putting $100 on the Bears. I think they're like plus. I don't know what they are. I haven't looked. Maybe I will, depending on who. If they get Neighbor, I'm telling you though, if they get Neighbors at 9, or trade up for Marv at 4, I'm putting in fucking money on the Bears to win the Super Bowl.
The sheer optimism that has spread on a contagious level because we're getting Caleb is kind of fucking crazy. We're talking to ourselves into all sorts of shit. Like Neighbors you just said Neighbors at 9. In any world, is Neighbors dropping to 9?
If you stop talking about how good he is, yes.
Oh yeah, because of all our
I mean, listen, I know it's crazy, but Micah Parsons got drafted at 11, dude. Shit happens.
Shit happens. Quarterbacks go.
I mean, Aaron Donald.
You're
12, right?
Made it to. Well, I know,
dude.
13, 14.
Everybody I know was fucking pissed about that.
I was pissed. I was so pissed.
Root. As a Bears fan, all you can do is root for as many quarterbacks to go in the top 10 as possible.
Yep.
JJ, Bo Nix, Michael Penix,
and it's not
all those dudes.
It's not even quarterback. We have no idea what these teams think of these other left tackles. So everyone keeps talking Joe Alt. There are other tackles in this draft that we have no idea. And there's
tackle is in the first round projection.
Things happen.
Yeah, so we have no idea how. I think there's going to be some surprises. And I also think there's going to be like 3 trades within the top 10. That's
why the NFL draft is the absolute fucking best.
Draft night's going to be electric, fellas.
Yes.
Absolute fucking best.
Yes.
But we will have all that coverage for you on the Bear With Us podcast. I'm Jack. He's Frank. He's Naz. 3 of us somewhat agree on most of our top 5. Maybe not as this much, but I just think that goes to show that this draft is just so fucking good. And we'll see who the Bears get at number 9. They're locked in at number 1. Until next time, fellas. I'll talk to you later.
Later, Jackie. Later, Naz.
Talk, boys. See ya.